So I had to develop, but the problems were there in the late 70s. I mean, everybody was fed up with avant-garde art. Everybody was fed up with experimental art in a way. Everybody was tired of black and white conceptual art. So artists were discussing what's next. I mean, what shall we do? So the basic problem is the same. And then in 2005, I made that exhibition called Metamorphosis, where I tried to develop and show what is happening in relation to what I call post-contemporary culture and what I call also in relation specifically to art, what I call cognitive art or cognitive arts. So the show is about the changing of the place of the artist in the society, but also the change of institutions, art institutions in society. And my basic argument, and I've shown it through what I wrote for the catalog and through the 26 artists that I invited from all over the world in relation to post-contemporary, to cognitive art, basically digital art, web art, robotics, and etc. I've tried to show two things. First, that contemporary art is a reactionary structure, social structure. But it's dominant. It's the power now. So my basic strategy is to show that contemporary culture is a reactionary structure that has to be fight back. And for that we need a new concept. And my new concept is post-contemporary culture and cognitive art. And cognitive art is different from conceptual and post-contemporary and late modern art in a way that cognitive arts are specifically related to knowledge in an instrumental and fundamental way. I mean, it's not about appropriation of knowledge. It's not appropriation of paradigms or concepts or reductionist visions of ideas, which sometimes happens with conceptual art. Or it's not cryptic art, which also sometimes happens with conceptual art. Sometimes conceptual art becomes only a game about language, a language game, actually very influenced by Wittgenstein. So it became a rhetorics on Wittgenstein language games. So my basic idea was that cognitive arts are about knowledge in a rigorous way. I mean, cognitive artists have to learn new languages. I mean, it's not about using ready-made stuff. They have to develop, for instance, they have to learn programming languages, or they have to know how to hack computers, or they have to know how DNA works. And when they don't know, they don't have all the knowledge, they have to work with technologies, or they have to work with scientists. And that relationship is not an opportunistic relationship anymore. It's an instrumental, it's a give and receive relationship. It's a dialogue where artists meet also the preoccupations of many scientists and technologists. Because as we have heard before, doctors always have, when they finish their job, when they get home, they start writing poems and novels. It's very typical in Portugal. I think all the doctors are writers. And sometimes very good writers. Not only bad writers, sometimes very good writers. Others prefer music, violoncello, you know, they like to play with important Portuguese pianists or whatever. So, so there is, and specifically now, science people and technologies also have a kind of preoccupation about the perception of the meaning of what we are doing, how are we here, what are we doing, or what's the meaning of technology, of science, are we really solving problems? Apparently not. I mean, we are solving problems of a very tiny portion of humanity, like 10, 15%, I mean 85, 90% are worse than they were, I mean, they are worse now than they were in the 18th century or 19th century. So So there is a base for a dialogue, and what artists do is to learn. They have to study, they have to take degrees or masters in specific fields, and they have to look for the specific science or technological field to develop their own work. And that kind of organic interaction is really new, and that's what I call cognitive art. I mean, the relation with knowledge is a cognitive relation, it's not a fake relation, it's not just an appropriational relation. So we did that exhibition, but also the other thing is that because contemporary art is the main power in culture in Western societies, we have to challenge the Contemporary Art Museum. And so that's why I start discussing with the director of Meiac what kind of changes we have to introduce in contemporary art museums so that they can accept, understand, and care about post-contemporary culture. What have to be done? What are they doing? What are the protocols that have to be invented in order that the Contemporary Art Museum can really work out exhibitions and a new relationship with post-contemporary culture and cognitive arts? Because cognitive arts it's no more a minority. There are thousands now all over the world. There are hundreds of people working, institutions, curators, writers, artists. I mean, if I start counting a few years ago, and there we can count them for more than 1,000 people right now. And, but if you go to contemporary art museums, you don't see them. They are non-existent. They are invisible. And that is something really odd. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like contemporary, it's like modern art, modern artists in the late 90s when they tried to enter the museums. You know, think about Manet trying to enter the, you know, the Paris museums at the time, or trying to show in some academic show. I mean, it was impossible. And in a way, there is a parallelism in between these two situations. I mean, post-contemporary or cognitive artists and post-contemporary artists don't have access to most museums in the world. And this is something that is wrong, because post-contemporary culture is what really is happening new since the last 25 years. So it's about time to change the relationship between post-contemporary culture and cultural institutions, namely museums. So Metamorphosis was about that.